Holy, 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 Alleluia. Holy Jesus, praise Jesus, Alleluia. Okay. So yeah, I want to export this while we're
Yeah.
starting. Where should we go? Should we do journals, I
Well,
guess?
I'm sitting down. You bring up whatever. I'm all
You look tired. You've been
curious.
up
Oh, a
late.
little bit, but I'm good. I'm good. It's all good.
Let's see. Get out of there. Okay. Okay. So here's the eighth. Oh, yeah, this set of parts. I was just sitting here thinking, wondering about Bella, who was brave sitting in the dentist's office having a tooth pulled with no painkiller. The reason there is no painkiller is because and so my part starts telling me the reason there's no painkiller is because the dentist told mom there was a new technology. All he would have to do is put headphones on me and that would distract me from the pain. So mama agreed. What was going on was when he put the headphones on the MK Ultra. Now, I don't know if it's mind files per se, I just assumed, but it was an MK Ultra was being installed at the same time. So the pain from the tooth extraction disassociated me so that the MK Ultra mind files could be installed or reactivated or upgraded or whatever. It said there's a high pitched tone, different tones in each ear, and a woman talking to me. So Jack did also come into the office to make sure that the dentist had everything set up properly. When he was certain, then he left. The dentist did all the work. I believe Jack gave him a cassette tape or a disc or something, which right now I know it was a disc, as I can see it in my mind's eye. That would have specific instructions for me. Correction, Jack waited until the dentist was done and then took the CD back and left. I remember I was kind of out of it. My head was hanging back.
Oh gosh.
And Jack came and looked at me and lifted my eyelids and said, "You'll be fine. I'll see you again." And then he left. So I put the part name as lid for the eyelids. So I put them in my all of my charts and graphs and stuff, and then I came back and I put the health checklist. So their names all start with H's. And I don't know how or why they choose these letters or why they want them in groups with this, but Halo, Honey, and Hero have issues with her ears, Harper with her eyes, Honey and Halo with their mouth, jaw, teeth, neck, and Honey with her hands from gripping the chair. Harper has problems with her eyelids and her head. Ally has a headache.
Diana, do you
That's
think, with the reference to the names, what do they think?
well, they like them.
No, I don't know. No, yeah, that's fine. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
here they
Uh,
are.
but the fact that is there an order? You wonder.
Well, because I'll take my, pencil and my worksheet and I'll say, okay, because I know that, okay, they'll tell me, okay, they put the headphones. I went in the chair. That was brave, who I always knew about. They put headphones on me. The dentist said, open wide. And, the mind files are going. And so when the pain happened, my brain scrambled. That's the only word that that part could use to describe it. So it was just a scramble.
Yeah.
And then that was over with. The dentist was done. Then my eyelids were opened by Jack, and then I had a headache, and as mom took me home. And so I'll have them in order in chronological sequence and how it happened. And I'll say, okay, guys, first I'll find their pictures, their old pictures that match. And they go, yeah, okay. I said, now it's time for a new name. What would you like for a name? Is it a girl name or a boy name? And they'll say, these guys say girl. I said, is there any particular letter you like? And I'll show them the A to Z thing in the this website that has baby names on it, and they'll go, H's sound good. And so
Okay.
I'll pull up the H's, and there's like 100 names there.
Yeah.
And then I'll look at them and go, oh, I like Halo. That's unique. Honey's cool. I
So
like
they
Hero.
decide, so they decide upon a letter, and then from there,
Yeah, I just look at a list and I know it's Hero with an I. That was a typo. Harper and Hallie. And sometimes as I'm looking through the list, one will pipe up and say, I like the name Harper, but I'm not that picture. I'm this picture. And I go, okay, so you're Lyd? And I'll go, yeah. I say, okay, Harper and Lyd, and I'll write it on my worksheet. Usually it comes sequentially, but sometimes not, and then Hallie. So there they are. Um, I guess.
yeah,
Uh, here was their oh wait, health checklist, body issues. Later. Like I said, Brave was always there. Remember I told you I had my tooth pulled with no painkiller. So she was the guardian. So I
unbelievable.
just have to add the ones below her. And like I said, it was, these three were their ears and the headphones open wide, the scramble. But by the time the headphones came off and Jack was opening up my eyes, then it was no more ear issues. It was eye issue, or mouth and taste. That's when they were in there screwing around with my mouth. And these two with the jaw, the teeth, the lid and the head, my head was hurting, my hands and fingers from gripping the thing, and that was pretty much it. And there was no real, let's see, MK Ultra except earphones, the exertion of it all, and then spiritual issues was, oh, trigger words and phrases, open wide trigger word, um, headphones, whatever was said on there, scramble, and headache was. I don't remember. Oh, I remember as I was laying there coming out of it and Jack was opening my eyes, the song Sweet Caroline was playing on the radio in the dentist's office. So I'm going to start to put the name of the song here when it has to do with music.
Good for you. Good for you,
Yeah,
Diane.
not just the little X, because I had Sweet Caroline going through my head for the day before I remembered these guys.
Wow.
And I thought, well, who is that? What's that about? And that night this popped up. I was like, okay, well, thanks very much. So it all came, they told me this song first. So I was thinking that Harper's like a backup guardian because Brave revealed first, okay, no painkiller. Then the song came. I thought, well, you have to be the backup guardian. And then Honey, I just I think that was based on her emotional impact.
Diana, could you outline that? I don't know if it's possible. The name. Are you able to do a outline in black of the name so it pops out?
Oh, outline it? I've never
No,
done.
I'm sorry, of honey.
Oh, instead of it being yellow?
Well, you might be able to just outline as well, because then the
Oh, I
yellow will be
don't
highlighted in black. I don't know if that's possible.
formats. I'll look into it. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
Okay. And then, okay, so that's
But
that
that's
basic part.
invaluable to have people list the name of the song because that's they're so
Yeah.
triggered all the time by these songs.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I was having neck problems that day as well. My neck was tense and I was
yeah.
hitting on Ted, but the song kept going and I was like, well, there's no anxiety associated with it. What's happening? And it was, oh, it was playing in the dentist's office. Like, okay, well, thanks for telling me that. So we'll close that guy out. And then the next day was, oh, for some reason I was thinking about well, not for some reason, my parts just started telling me about how the theater shows and how I would go to those theater shows. And they're like, well, okay. He said he'd have me read a story on the line, which was the story of whatever play was going to be. Then Jack switched me, which I didn't quite understand. Then we'd approach, and I'd be in the room getting ready. They'd give me a costume. We'd rehearse a little. The curtain would go up. I'd go on stage. And that's when Stetson and Drake, this was the stage master, and this was the dancer, would come on. After they did their thing, then the people who were made to kill, the parts made to kill would, so this is the show. They would open it up with incantations. He would do a satanic dance, call down demons. They would do their killing according to the play. The play would finish, the audience would shout, I'd exit stage, change clothes, wash up, I'd be on a ride, go back to School Sisters of Notre Dame. The handler would switch me off to dad, and they would have some sort of exchange with drugs or money or something. Then I'd be with dad driving home. I'd have a matchbook and then go home. So I thought, well, how is this happening right here? And they said, well, it was the MKU persona instruction. And this is what would happen. You'd have to read something, and then you'd have to read it out loud back to Jack. Jack would say, you know what to do. And I would read it again. And then all of a sudden, Drake, the dancer who would open the show, said, well, this is what I had to go to dance class. And I had to put on a special robe. There was a teacher, there was moves. It was dance, which was his original name, was a whirling, spinning frenzy using the robe and sometimes a wand. And he said we would call down demons. And I went, really? And he's like, yeah. He said, so the class, another part of the class was that Stetson, who used to be called Stage, had to memorize one or two paragraphs of incantations or spells to open the show. School Sisters had a program to train their performers, so there would be spells and then the dance. But I had to channel spirits for the introduction spell and dance. And then after that, I was drifting off. And I just heard some people backstage talking about the Jesuit army that they were a part of, the Jesuit army. And then I almost drifted off again. I thought, well, I better record that. And that was the end of that. And so what I did was I did my worksheet, but my worksheet wound up being more detailed than this. And here's what it turned. Well, this was the next night.
Diana,
Jack,
do you know what it means by Jesuit army?
not really, no. I know there was more context to that because I was drifting off. I missed some of it, and which is why I made myself wake up and record just of whatever I could remember. But I heard something more there, and I don't recall what it was. It was half in and half out of consciousness. So I was like, okay, well, let's go over that again. Jack would, I told you this once before that Jack, when we were in the helicopter going to Camp David, Jack said, you're a world traveler now. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I'm only on this small portion of the United States. How am I a world traveler? As an adult, I'm thinking this. But now I'm wondering if I didn't go across the world. Anyway, he would say, there's my world traveler. Let's
Uh,
hit the road at School Sisters. And then after, whatever thing, little pick up paperwork, whatever. And then he would walk me out to the car. He'd say, let's hit the road. We'd get in the car and he'd say, here's your playbook. I would read it. It was a very simple, like maybe one or two pages about, half size with images on it, pictures. And then I would be done reading it, he'd say, play it back for me. So I'd have to tell him what I just wrote. And by the time that happened, we would be at our location. Or maybe we did this two or three or five times, I don't know, but we would get to our location, he'd say, here we are. And he'd look at me and say, so who are you? And I would tell him, I'd do the playback. He'd say, let's do it. So we'd go into the building and we would enter a dressing room, and the person receiving me there would say, who are you? And I would say, I'm a cutter, I'm going to cut people, or I'm going to behead people, I'm going to disembowel people, meaning slice them down the front, or I'm going to uh, chop or I guess maybe these are two new parts now that I think about it. So I would say these things, and they would know, okay, you need to get this type of costume. And they'd say, over here, I'd get my costume, which would be some sort of either naked or half naked thing with whatever weapon I needed. And then my robe would go over that. They would say, okay, the curtain's about to come up. Is everybody ready? And they'd say, you're on. That's when Stetson and Drake would take over. Stetson would go out there and say, welcome, everybody, do like the opening thing. He would start with spells, which would lead to incantations, which then switched into Drake, who, because he had a robe on, he would start doing this dance of spinning and flying the robe parts around. And I'll show you those images. Once he was and the doing this process called down demons into me and also into the space, the whole theatrical space. Now, I'm sure other people were doing it as well off stage, whatever evil people there were. And then one of these parts would come out and do their job. Whoever, who are you? I'm X, Y, or Z. And so X, Y, or Z would do their theatrical performance. Either, I think it was the Henry V with the cutting of the throats, Jonathan with the decapitating. I'm not sure who Slicer is, or Eliza would be with the French Revolution and the guillotine. So the show would be over, the audience would shout, the curtain would drop, we'd go off stage, someone would say, come along, and they'd usher us all back into the dressing room area.
Diana, this just came to mind. Hopefully, this will be good news. What I would say is this: just as the Lord protected you when they were doing the Masonic stuff,
Yeah,
um,
that I wasn't possessed,
there you go. There
but
you
I
go.
believe if it didn't channel through me, it was done outside of me, making me believe it was me.
That's what was going on.
I
That's what.
think so, yeah.
There you go.
Slicer is disembowel. So, so I realize now what I had to do at Camp David and also at Himmler's Castle was trained into me all these years earlier. So, um, and say she would say, "Come along back into the dressing room." I'd wash up and change clothes, and then the woman would say, "Here's your man," meaning what my handler, generally Jack. And right now my part is saying it was Jack or John Emanuele, whose nickname was the Demon. So, okay, I just got that right now. So I'll save that.
And
Because
that,
John Emanuele was my escort when I had to uh courier stuff in the backpack as like a 6-year-old or something.
and that last name is obviously fabricated uh,
No, that's their actual last name, unless it was made up. I don't know, but
because Emmanuel, right, that comes out of Isaiah where they shall call his name Emmanuel. meaning God with us.
Oh, I didn't know that. But yeah, no, that's my friend that I called and talked to months ago and would ask him about,
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on.
yeah, it's his dad.
His dad. I'm sorry about that. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so that their last name is Emanuele. They're half American, Native American Indian, and they're half Italian. So
Oh,
it's an Italian last name.
no wonder he hasn't called you back, your friend.
Well, I blocked him too because I realized he was talking about how his dad had he said he found out that his dad had to kill someone for the mob and that he was proud of it. He says, "Is that bad? Should I feel bad? But I'm proud that my dad was a badass." And I thought, well, you're still loyal to the cult, so I don't need to be interacting with you anymore. So again, he every time I would press him about you really don't remember me being gone for entire weekends at a time. No, no, I don't. So I think he's a handler. So, I mean, I blocked him as well as Angie because I thought neither one of them is willing to. The only thing Joe was willing to tell me was anything related to or connected with Angie, who he still has a crush on 60 years after the fact. Anyway, I read this one. So those parts that came on the first day fine-tuned on the next day. And then those parts selected F names, which ironically Ford is one of them. I might ask him if he's willing to change his name. Come on now. There we go. Because I remember when he picked that name, I was like, Ford, really? Okay, I guess that's an all right name. Um, so I'll show you those on here as well. Um, and it's interesting because let me shrink this a little. Cage collar leash. Okay, so I'm getting MK Ultra'd at home. I start training camp with the athletics, the rapes, get the basic training, the wolf training, hand to hand, courier. Now I'm being trafficked, and here's sexual stuff. Donna has to, dunk people and baptize them in water. And then I'm being sent out to do wolf pack stuff, killing. And then, okay. Then here's the performers. So Stetson presented first out of all of them a long, long time ago. Drake came after that. I just called him stage and dancer. I knew that they opened the show, so to speak, and had no real details. Well, now there's Flynn, Ford, Fallon, Fritz. They wanted F names, and they're boys. So it's the master, the teacher, dance master, I believe I wrote on dance. And then we got a special robe, which I think was part of the illusion that I'm going to now have witchcraft because I have this special robe on. I'm going to do chanting and incantations, which was a lot of projection of, verbal projection. It was, you had to be kind of loud. And then they taught us how to perform. So now I'm on stage and I have to spin, I have to swirl, I have to call down demons and do this dance, which supposedly brought demons down into me so that I could do these performances, which was either be the executioner, the cutthroats, or the decapitation. And now I realize there's another one that is a disemboweling. I need to write that down before I just put it off and forget.
Yeah.
So, what did I call it? Slicer? Slice or bowels? Slice bowels. There we go. Okay. And then after that, since I was at the different theaters in Milwaukee, in, people's homes or Chicago, or then I'm having to be do slave labor and then have that's pushing pulling of the machine to chop people up, and then that thing on the roof with the demon. And now I'm going to the Queen's stuff in Canada, and there's having to eat brains and anyway, so that's where they are in the lineup right here. So they happen right. So there'd be one more here. So six guardians, because you know that each one of these is going to have a set of parts.
That's right.
So these six guardians all, it starts with Stetson, goes to Drake, and then Drake can split into four different ways.
That's right.
And then when they're done, they move back into those other parts, which, geez, why are they not on here? It's so many. This is my main okay, here they are. So Drake broke up into World Traveler Getting There. So you're on, the performers performed. Then this is the after effect. Oh, so they're P's. Okay, so these guys were all F's and boys, and these guys were all P's. And these parts squeak in here. So Palmer is still the guardian, but this is like the after. So one of these has to be a backup guardian, or yeah, the matchbook. Yeah, the matchbook, because my dad always, I would get a matchbook when I was there from Jack or my handler, and then I would have to pass that off to dad. So all six of these. Oh, and their names changed. Holy cow, I gotta change this first one here. Hey, oh, they are there, number one. I just didn't put them in my third one. Or did I? Oh, I was looking at the emotional checklist. Anyway, I have to fix something.
Yeah, no, take your time.
So here's the name of the parts. World Traveler, hit the road, play book, play back. Here we are. Who are you? Let's do this. Dressing room, play it back. Over here, costume curtain call. You're on. And then shouts, the curtain drops, come along, wash up. And my handlers say, how'd it go? Hand me the matchbook. We'd drive home and there'd be the exchange. Well, the matchbook would come on the drive. And now these four, I didn't remember until after I had already processed all this. And I thought, well, what about the drive home? And Gail's like, oh yeah, the matchbook. And then there would be the exchange. And then Dad would drive us home in the dark, and I'd have to sneak into the house into my room, not to wake anybody up. So that's why these are G's, because they were different. They just wanted different. Maybe they're their own, uh, because anytime I got a matchbook and drove home, it wouldn't just be for these parts. It could be for any of these parts.
That's
So
right.
now that I think about it, these should be a different color because it would be a switch. I guess orange will work. So yeah, just talking about it now, I realize, so this is a whole different set of parts, which probably is more like a guardian that was triggered from the matchbook.
You
That
can tell
makes
then how, talk about a last ditch attempt on the part of your dad when he brought that bag of
I
matchbook.
know, I thought about that so many times. I was like, maybe I should go to Ruth's house someday and see if she still has the bag of matchbooks. and I could look at the labels on them.
I'm telling you,
I
would
should have
that
taken them, but at the time I was just so indignant. I'm like, the hell? So maybe I'll call her and ask her, do you have that bag of matchbooks? You mind sending them to me?
seriously?
But she won't give me my cousin's phone number either. So it's just, oh yeah, no problem. And then I'll never see him. But I'll call anyway. Let me write that down. Call Ruth.
Talk about then, were they from the locations exactly?
Yes, yes,
Then
yes,
you've got a good directory of
yes. And there must have been 100, matchbooks in that book, which is really terrifying to think about it. But yeah, matchbook is a that's always when dad picks me up to drive me home. That's that part right there called Gale or matchbook. And look at the names they chose too. And it was very random. I didn't notice it until I was typing them out. They all have the same four letters, well, same three letters, GIA in each one, and GIAL in three of them. Isn't that interesting?
yeah.
I'm like, you guys, that really, you want to be that close? No, yep, yep. We're a group. That's what we do together. I was
Uh,
like, okay,
and
it's
it
your
certainly
world.
helps.
Like,
It,
I'm not going to judge it. I'll just do whatever you want. Yeah.
and it certainly helps with visual differentiation.
It does. And I thought that that was like maybe it's my parts way of keeping it organized for me, but yeah, they keeping them with the same letter, and it's not 100% that way. Like these are mostly R's with the W. He had to be different. He wanted to be different and stand out. So he might be some sort of backup guardian. But yeah, I love that they do this, and it helps me, and I think maybe my parts talk to the other parts inside of me that are organizing and recording and working with the software, and like, look, this would be easier if you all pick the same letter name, so that as we go down the road, and they're like, okay, we can work with you, we can work with that, we don't care.
So, Diana, just for my own clarification, so looking at Gale right there, we have um, Galia, Galena, and Gia, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the matchbook exchange drop, tell me about, I mean, obviously that's the chronology of events, so that's connecting the dots of but that second list, so matchbook exchange drive,
Sneak in, yeah.
there you go. Are those separate parts or that's what
Each,
was going on?
that's what was going on, and they're each separate parts. Yeah, I'll show you here. Let me find.
Now, are those, so you have two columns that are the same color. So are those sub parts? Or I'm not subpart. I'm the um like secondary and almost third protectors, third level.
Yeah, I haven't really fleshed that out yet. I haven't really fleshed that out yet, but here's the images that they selected. Like here's the matchbook,
Yeah,
because it could be, and I almost selected one that had somebody's logo on it, and they're like, no, pick the generic one because they were each one was different.
yeah.
And then it was okay, whoever was driving me to school, Sisters of Notre Dame, transportation exchange with dad and handler, I would be sitting, I would move vehicles, be in dad's car now, and they would have a little exchange of communication, of money, of drugs, maybe MK Ultra discs or something, but there would be an exchange between them.
And as you said, certainly it sounds like the adrenochrome as well.
Maybe so, yeah. And then dad would drive me home, and I was trying to find images of a girl and the girl, and I ran across this, and she could, that one, that's what it always looked like. We were in a dark road, not very traveled. I could see lights, and that, it was just, I would be staring out the window, not really talking. And Dad would see the handler would give the matchbook to Dad. When we get in the car driving home, then Dad would give the matchbook to me, and I would hold on till we got home. And then I think Dad would take it away again. So there might even be another little part that goes with that. And then I was trying to find a picture of us approaching a home at night, and nothing worked, nothing worked. And I must have gone through 5 or 10 descriptors and finally said, my part said, type in entering in the house in the dark, entering a room. And when she saw this image, and she's like, yes, that's as close as we're gonna get to it. Me sneaking into my bedroom to lay down to go to bed, sneak in the house in the dark and go to bed. Because I think Dad would maybe turn on a lamp in the kitchen or something, but he didn't want to disturb Mom, even though I think Mom was drugged, and didn't want to disturb Angie and Mary, even though Angie and Mary would shut their mouth anyway. So it was just, it was kind of sneak in, don't make a ruckus, you're not getting any food, go to bed. Change your clothes and go to bed. So I called her sneak in. And so those are the 4 parts. And that's a whole nother incident that I need to anyway. So those were those 4. And this
I'm
set,
sorry, here I was thinking, no, so this is on the way back. The handoff there is,
yeah, now
oh,
here's the way too.
so the adrenochrome is on the way out when they gave you that backpack when you were in the
Well,
school.
that's a different time
Yeah, yeah, sorry
frame
about
and
that. That's right.
incident.
That's right.
Yeah. So, they're having me do these dunkings, baptisms in blood. I handled that. They're like, okay, let's teach him how to call down. So I wind up in this dance class and I'm thinking, oh, cool. We get to dance, it'll be fun. And this woman was creepy. And what I typed in was dance master for satanic ceremonies. And this came up. And they're like, yeah, that's as close as we're gonna get.
Oh, is
So,
that right?
learn how to be, go dance class. And it wasn't really dance, but then, okay, we get a special robe, and this is pretty close, except I would make the sleeves a lot wider and add some red in there. And then we'd have to chant very loudly. Then I'd have to dance and do these things with my hands. And this one was I put in dance incantation spells. And this came up so many times. And the part's like, yeah, yeah. I'm like, really? I don't, no, yeah, we had to do shit with our fingers. I was like, okay. So, and this is actually, there's actual, I think, a stage play or something that this comes from. And look at there's sigils and stuff on it. I was like, okay. And that now this is when all these parts come together and make Stage Man, which I used to just call stage because no, I'm Stage Man. And he would present this incantation stuff, which would move into the dance itself as I would start spinning and then swirling with the robe. I couldn't find an image, but imagine this robe flying around, with black and red and white, which, here's another one like it. And this would be calling down demons with that particular dance. And then dancer was would bring it all together, and that would be that. Okay, so that was learning how to do it. Now we're going to start doing it. So there's World Traveler, which I chose the helicopter because that was the first time Jack called me that. So I don't know if I got helicoptered somewhere or not. But the part's like, yeah, right there, that one. I said, okay. Then we hit the road. He'd take me to whatever vehicle we were going to be in. He'd give me some sort of playbook. It was similar to this, except like half pages, with some sort of kind of images and instructions. I'd have to play it back, read it back to him, and we'd arrive at some theater somewhere. And I picked this one because of the arches seemed to be a big deal. And this if then seemed somehow relevant, but not really the Rogers. It was the lighting and the whole thing. The park said that's pretty darn close. Pick that one. Because there were probably 5 or 10 different theaters I think I went to. Either in someone's home or the one in Chicago or whatever. And then he'd say, okay, who are you? And I'd be like, not really excited about what I'm going to do. And he'd say, okay, let's do this and encourage me. We'd hit the dressing room, which was busy and chaotic. Um, then the dressing room person or Jack himself would say, okay, play it back to me again. And then the generally the woman backstage would say, okay, come over here. This is where I need you. Let's get you in costume. Like I said, there was generally half naked with weapons, with a big robe over it, the robe that Dancer and Stetson wore, which I couldn't find a match for that. And then we'd be at the curtain waiting to go out. I'd be out there, I'd go out there on stage, and I'd initially be shocked into my next part, which would become these two. I'd announce and dance. These are their new images. I probably should have put their old ones there, but then either Finnegan would come out and do his thing, or Jonathan would come out and do his thing, or Eliza would do her thing. Now there's a fourth part I don't have in there yet, which is slicer, I guess. The show would be over and the audience generally would be shouting. The curtain would come down. We'd be ushered to come along, let's go back because people would be pumped up and their parts needed to be switched. And then I'd be washing up, changing clothes. My handler would come say, how'd it go? And I'd still be pumped up and trauma bonded. No, I did great. I was awesome, blah, blah, blah. And then, we'd drive back. It would be like the debriefing during the drive. And then the matchbook would come into play on that drive. Then we'd exchange. Dad would drive me home and I'd sneak in the house. So it's a lot. And it's not just one time that happened, but these are the guardians for the parts that had to perform and switch throughout that whole thing. The switching of guardians, let alone the parts that go with the guardian.
That's right. That's right.
So that it's a lot to break apart and trying to get into line. But yeah, these parts lived over the course of 4 years. So that was really interesting to split all that out.
So let me, Dana, could you enlarge that just a little bit so I can say,
Which
sorry.
this one here?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so there we go. So let's take World Traveler.
Okay.
So World Traveler, then would that be, so we'll call Palmer, what is the term? Are you using Guardian?
Yes, that's what the large red item is the
Okay,
guardian.
there you go. And so,
Not the gatekeeper, it's the guardian. I finally distinguished between the two. There's a gatekeeper that is Oh, geez, maybe he is a gatekeeper. Because
Okay,
the
now this,
gatekeepers are from 3 to 6, and the guardians, oh, the guardians are from 7 to 20.
okay, so wait, this is
Oh
really,
no, these are the guardians right here. These are the guardians. This is a gatekeeper then. Palmer is a gatekeeper.
okay, then
Stetson
intuitively,
and Drake are guardian and backup guardian. And Palmer would be a gatekeeper because of the low impact level. That's right. So I need to change that. And maybe I'll just keep it red and
okay, okay.
one. And
This is super important. This is good. Okay, so let me ask, go back. So
gatekeeper, guardian, he still should. The guardians are so much stronger than
yeah,
the gatekeepers. Well, they're both strong. I haven't figured this out yet.
okay, but that you're going to be the talk about the resident expert, right? This is going to be really, really important and good. So your sense is, so
Because
I really like the terminology. I know I used it, but if anybody's going to be the expert on it, it's you.
these two presented first.
So are you
They're
sensing,
-12, so they're guardians. But Palmer would be a gatekeeper.
so are you sensing the guardian comes first or the gatekeeper?
It depends. It depends because these guys are also guardians because of their high intensity level. See, and I'm using it based on and this is what I was trying to flesh out.
Yeah.
Instead of putting the repressed and wounded kids on separate pages, I combined them. So this section is repressed with a gatekeeper. This section is wounded kids with a guardian. So I had to distinguish between, okay, in this level, I got 4 levels of guardians.
Okay, that's what I was. Okay,
And
so
over
keep,
here, I have a single gatekeeper.
yep, yep. So we've got a
So for
guardian. Then would
And
you?
here these guys are. So
So
Palmer is a gatekeeper, but oh, you can't really see these very well. So, like I said, Palmer, because these guys presented first, they're guardians over here. Palmer was a gatekeeper to all the rest of it, how it worked. But the guardians guarded the actual awful, horrible, terrible stuff.
the
The wounded
gatekeeper then.
kids.
So the gatekeeper. Let me ask you this: does it seem like the gatekeeper comes first, and then if you make it through the gate, then they're the guardians, or is it the just in terms
Well,
of?
it makes logical sense to me, but they have presented in the opposite fashion. For me, they presented, I remembered these guys, the killers at -19 and 14, before I remembered these stage performers who are at -12. So you would think that, and maybe it's because Blue shuffled things up. I don't know, but I would imagine that a gatekeeper would present first. But in my case, it didn't.
Or maybe using this terminology,
And
maybe
these lines just, and maybe the gatekeeper needs to go in this category.
yeah, maybe thinking like a fortress, you have guards before the gate.
Yes.
So do you
Yes.
terminology wise, we've
Oh,
got,
guards before the gate.
what do you think?
I never thought of that. I thought the gate would come first. You enter the gate and then the guard would stop you. But no, you're right. There's a guard at the gate.
Does that feel
So,
correct?
yes, yes, maybe that was my confusion.
So therefore we've got,
Because this is the gatekeeper to the entire memory,
there we go.
but the guard protects the wounded children. So the guard and the gatekeeper have to work together. I think depending on which one would present first, I think maybe, well, because for
Oh,
me, I always remembered the awful, horrible, terrible stuff first. So the guard must come first.
so how's this? This is sort of interesting
And then
that
they,
you
and
have a
then they say,
guard.
okay, well, you've treated me well, you've given me all the right things and done all the right things. Now I will let you enter the gate and see the whole thing, even though it's at a lesser intensity level.
Okay, so
So so time-wise in memory sequence, it it's you get the worst first to scare the shit out of you into not remembering. And
yeah,
and so you don't. You think, oh, I must have seen that in a horror film.
okay, there you go. There, and that's a test to see if you're willing. So let me ask
Right.
this.
And to see how well you treat this guard.
There you go. Okay, so let me ask this then. The idea that you first, as you're approaching, you're going down different levels, but here, so you have, how about this? It's just as you're talking, I'm sketching this out here.
Sure.
So there would be a guard before the gate, and then after you get in the gate, is there a guardian of the little ones?
Oh, maybe that,
So you have a guard, gatekeeper, and guardian, and then the ones that have the actual play-by-play, minute by minute.
maybe that's the, well, here I put, okay, initial, the primary backup, secondary backup, and third backup,
Okay,
which
okay,
in this particular group of parts, I couldn't figure out who was secondary, but there was a third.
okay, and that's important, right? Because that going to be the actual then minute by minute?
Yeah, 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 because this was showing me, okay, when we walked in there, we thought it was going to be fun.
Yeah,
So they were lower intensity in the fives. We were nervous, but we thought it was going to be fun. It was supposed to be about dancing and being, doing stage stuff. I had no idea it was going to involve murder, or calling down demons. That's what these squiggle lines are, meaning they're over here. So their intensity level has different descriptors. And I wonder if maybe this shouldn't just all, well, I don't know. So yeah, Stetson presented first, Drake second. Make it bigger. And then all the other parts showed up with different. So yes, one of them is a gatekeeper. Maybe there's a internal, this is like an external gatekeeper, and maybe there's an internal gatekeeper, which would be the robe, which is what's consistent throughout all SRA is this robe.
yeah.
For me, I don't know. But so maybe there's so this would be the external gatekeeper, and then you have the internal gatekeeper because I don't know, maybe he would go in the other category over here. Maybe that's what is this right here, the primary backup protector. And maybe we should call it the primary, well, the internal gatekeeper because it's backing up the guardian. I don't know. And that might sort something out. I'll play around with that. And then you'll have a primary, and then you have another backup and another backup.
Okay, so I want to show you
But
something.
these levels are, I choose them based on their numerical value. on how awful it was. So the gatekeeper is 3 to 6, and the guard is 7 to 20. He guards the wounded children because they're at the worst possible intensity. But the gatekeeper is a lower into if you can get to the gate, it's not so bad. You know what I mean? It's once you enter the gate, you get the deeper, nastier stuff, which would be these guys here. Because once I started chanting, I went out of this naivete, what is it? Uh, oh, carefree and naive, thinking we were going to have fun, into, oh shit, we're calling down demons. And now I've got to actually use my whole body and not just my voice. And you're going to show me how to do it with my body and actually call them. And now I have to put it all together. And so the intensity, when I realized the demonic part of it, I freaked out.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
then went back to just learning the dance with a little bit of nervousness. And now I'm actually calling down demons and doing a good job. And I'm freaking out. And now I got to put all this together. What?
It
So
shows you, it shows you the ebb and flow of it. Diana, I
yeah.
just threw something. Would you be okay sharing your screen? I want to show you kind of,
Oh, oh, you mean stop sharing?
yeah, as a matter of fact, if you don't mind, stop share. Let me, then you'll
Oh,
have to permit me to share because I want to share with you
a
as you were
sketch.
talking. Okay, now this is very simple. What do you think of something like that? So here's the event, right? So here's your external persona, the
Oh,
front
okay.
person,
Okay.
okay? And then it gets triggered into, we might call those the guards or a guard. And now you got the
External
gate.
guard, then the gate, then the internal guard.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
and I mean, it could keep going. So that might be something as you're doing each of these incidents, the ones that are most profound, it would be interesting that because then that's going to add the depth.
Yeah, yeah.
So, okay, I'll stop showing, but that might be for purposes of both understanding and then illustration.
Because I think you're right. I think you've
I
got the
mean,
guard in front of the gate, because that would be me remembering campaigning in 6th grade, but not understanding why. Then the gate would be being trained to do so, for among other things. And then this would be the wounded children who were hurt, tortured into doing those things. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because
I'm just
then
trying to figure out how that would work with the
well,
descriptors.
yeah. And so you'll have, I mean, talk about the resident expert. You are the so forget whatever terminology I used, whatever,
Well, no, it's a start. I mean,
Okay.
imagine
So,
not having it at all.
well, I'm thinking, okay, so your dad takes you at night, hands you off to Jack.
Right.
Jack triggers you into, and then,
Perform.
so
Yeah, to the
each
part.
of the splittings, my hunch is well, and so it'll be interesting. This is where you and the parts, talk about intuitively, they can figure out because at the event, and as you're describing it,
And these are wounded children for sure.
okay, right? So what you've been describing, oh, this would be interesting. Let me where. I wonder if we could even
Yeah,
do,
type in what you're thinking these boxes are.
okay, so this would be paste. Where's another one? Where'd it go? I don't know. Oh,
You
it
gotta
gave,
copy it
oh,
first.
okay, copy and paste. Okay.
You don't
So
know how to use the keystrokes, do you? It's
no, because I'm generic. Okay. So
Control C for copy and Control V for paste. And the
positive
keys are right next to each other. You can use your
because you're
pinky and your
advanced.
index. Yeah.
Okay. So here's what I'm thinking. So when you're at the in at the event and the show starts,
There's all the sequence of events.
there you go. So it'll
And
be very,
it's the whole memory.
there you go. So this could be, we could even add one more. I know. Hold on. Just bear
No,
with.
that's fine. Do your thing.
I
Yeah.
can't, yeah, you have a better way of doing the copy and paste. But anyway, so how about when your dad is driving you?
To School Sisters of Notre Dame, or I'm already there and Jack, is training all day and now we're going to go to an event at night kind of thing.
So it could be, so I don't know if this helps, but it kind of in terms of depth, so this would be sort of subconscious, and then also the wounded children, we've got the gatekeepers, the guards. Um, so if this helps, maybe toy around with it because then this will be very helpful for each.
Yeah, because I think what happens is I don't, can you see you can't see my
No,
cursor. The
so you
little,
want me to get out? You want me to close
no,
it?
no, no, keep it there. The little boxes on the bottom, the wounded children. It's like that's the flash of memory that I first get is not 100, but like of my teeth in someone's neck ripping at the
Yes,
jugular.
yes.
That's right there. So how would that be? Somehow I made it through the first guard and the gate and the
Okay.
second guard.
That was you kind of, that was a part
So a
making a
single
break.
part came up,
There you go.
and then I have to figure out how, I guess the whole event unfolds, and then I have to isolate who's who.
There you
Because,
go. So, for instance, when the whole thing started for you, and you saw a picture of a guy's thigh, so a part made it up. You get this memory, and then it goes back down, and now it's the process of
well,
detective.
actually, that part never went back down. It always stayed co-conscious with me. I
Wow.
could just never get past the next level. I could never get to the guard. I could never get to the gate. I could never get to the whatever until I got married with Chris and felt safety. And then I remembered, oh, there's a group scenario. Oh, it's my family. Oh, they've got black robes on. And oh, they're doing satanic stuff. So maybe those were the five levels.
Oh, okay. And ready? Okay. So here, just for the heck of it. So what do we got? Copy. Bear with me. Your way is
Yeah.
better. I'll learn how to do that. Okay. So
No,
this will
it's fine.
be, so this is very interesting. I just thought of it. I mean, it's self-evident, but okay. Copy, paste. Okay. So then when it is all over and afterward, they're having you wash up. No, that's, what am I doing?
Yeah, and then you climb back up to your front personality.
What is
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and right, and then it's going to do that again. I don't know how do you make it thinner, but anyways, paste. There you go. So we obviously, so
You're
I
just as
mean,
anal as I am.
right? So it's really reverse.
Yeah, you do they start you off at low level and pull you into this horrible -20, and then the situation resolves itself because you don't go from a -20 back to a 5.
No, that's right. There you go.
You
Now,
go from a -20 to a
okay. can't,
Just delete it and copy the other one and paste it
you're
again.
so smart. I like that.
That's what I do instead of trying to figure out.
Okay, so copy, paste. Okay, you're very smart there. Okay, so we got that. We're going to turn it around like that.
Yeah, it does. You go all the way down into those awful Oh, that's what it is because you're squishing it.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. What am I doing with this?
It's okay.
How do I get this? Oh, whatever. Okay, so, but anyway, and therefore this one would then,
Go up to another one and
there you go.
okay,
So
oh,
when
so
after
the
the event, when you go,
line,
there you go. When you're going back home,
yeah.
and so it'll be interesting then for each of your parts right now as they're listening, right? You guys are then
Yes, this is
going to,
exactly how it works. Yeah.
okay. So, and therefore there's going to be possibly different parts on the
Yes.
outside, the kind of afterward.
Yes, that
And as you're driving
destimulates
home,
you.
there we go. There we
They
go.
they they start you off in your front personality, stimulate you step by step down, and then when that is done, they step you back up. Well,
There
I
you
don't know
go.
if it's they step you up, but you have to get into a car, you have to go home, you have to go to your bed and go to sleep, and when you wake up, you're in your front personality again.
Okay, so we then shape fill just for the heck of it. Why not? No, what are we doing?
Yeah, shape fell. And then yeah, the different I would start with the calm blue on top and progressively move to red on the bottom.
Oh, see, that's good. Okay. Why don't I let you guys take it from here? But I do like that. Okay, so you're right. Okay, so why not?
I would do like a very calm blue and then maybe a darker blue into greens to orange to reds. Or I don't even know about green, but you know what I'm saying.
Well,
I would say the bottom three levels should be light orange, dark orange, and then red. Because I think the gates would start in the middle, or you'll have a yeah.
um, okay, but does this kind of capture the feel of it?
Yeah, yes, it does.
Okay,
Yeah,
this
and
will be,
that's a reflection of you start off at a two
there
and
you
you
go.
go to
Oh,
training
that's good.
camp.
That's good.
You go to training camp and you're like, oh shit, now I'm at -2 because I know what goes on here. And and then -5 because your training gets more intense. And then they always, yes, step you down to the worst possible thing. And then you're stepping back up to go home.
Now it's interesting there.
Because imagine if you went from killing someone with your teeth, and then all of a sudden you're at home. You can't go from -20 to a two.
so you wonder
There's
if,
steps throughout. Yeah.
so this will be interesting to toy with, just not toy with, that's not right. But so as the event is underway,
Yeah, yeah. Those each get isolated. Each part is isolated in its own. Well, a group of parts is isolated in an
there you
incident.
go. So maybe what I'm doing is maybe what I'm trying to capture is exactly what you have. The
Yeah, the
intensity
incident would be
increases.
the red box, and the little boxes inside are the wounded children in there.
There you go. And then the intensity of the event is
Yes.
increasing to where here's the worst of it, or the
Yeah.
ebb and flow of it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then you come back out. Okay.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah.
I'll get out. So it'll be interesting then. So we could either view this, so it's all you. You can certainly share your screen again.
Yeah.
But
Like I said, it starts off and I went a real quick, oh shit, I know what's happening. Now, if you would go back to, let's say,
because then visually what you could do, Diana, now I'm thinking like if you're going to describe an event, taking
yeah.
these. right? This is vertical, taking these and then put them in those levels horizontally. That'll be phenomenal.
Yeah, because an incident, which is one color here, always starts, okay, I wake up startled and it builds and builds in anxiety. And then all of a sudden you have this horrific thing and you get okay, that's over. And now it's building again. And oh shit, there's more bad stuff. And I get a breather because that's over with now. And oh yeah, let's make it a little worse, a little better, worse, a little better, worse. And because I was able to hide, things calmed down. But once I revealed myself, the intensity built again. It always, yeah, that's always the sequence of events. So, like, yeah, this was Trip being buried in a fury. He finally gets let out. There's probably parts in between these two where he's walking back to the house, but he
Yeah.
just remained furious. Tells, tries to call, he's calmed down by the time he gets to the house, kind of calm. Tells, gets tortured, so, and this was the next day. That's why they're separate colors.
Diana, I was just thinking, the little diagram that I chose, it'll be interesting because this is all going to be right brain intuitive stuff for you. I'm even thinking, so it'll come together for you, right? But taking a certain event, the one that you described, where the rock and you're hiding and Rocky, and is that what you were just referring to?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. So you wonder, so you guys will be the resident expert about this, obviously, which is you wonder even within as a matter of fact, can I share? That's what it
Yeah,
looks
go for
like.
it. Yeah.
Okay. So all of a sudden it occurred to me. So I'm going to drop this down
Because
for a
you could
second.
have, for every incident that you have that red block, you'd have that many red blocks as wounded kids.
Okay. So how'd you know? I was just kind of going there. So I'm just thinking this, but you guys will have a better sense. How did I just do that? I supposedly work with these all the time and I'm messing. Oh, right here. There we go. There we go. Okay. So it'll be interesting to find out, could it be that, let me do this.
Yeah, that's exactly how an incident runs. Because you start off with your front personality and they switch you and switch you and switch you. Now, it could just be you switching because you've done it before, but at some point in your history, they taught you, they put you through a sequence of events that became worse and worse and worse. And then they pulled you out of it and made it, calmer to go back into your, because I don't know if you could go from a negative 20 to a 2. I just don't even know. Or if you did, if that's what causes insanity.
If you don't have parts,
Hmm.
but the parts would then graduate up, meaning that kind of, they would
Well,
absorb
I
it.
would just think that your mind would do it because okay, all right, I'm not being raped anymore. I'm just on the floor staring at this cross. And it's calm, but I'm, it's like a step down or step up or whatever. They step you down and then step you back up.
Yeah,
Just each incident.
here's sort of an interesting thought. I can't grab that. How do I grab that? Dang it. Stop. Okay, let me do this the old-fashioned way then.
You just copy and paste the one you have there already.
That's because you're smart. Okay. And okay, then I'm going to bring this down right there. So here was my thought, and you guys will have that when it gets really
Yeah,
bad
so
for one.
wounded kid, yeah, because as you're being raped, you got the three different types of rape, or maybe you're having candle wax dripped on you or hot blood or whatever, yeah. Yeah, there'll be yet another, well,
See, because I just did two different concepts now that I'm thinking about it, because in a way, then all of these would be, so it would be either this. So I guess this may be a more accurate because this part is getting overwhelmed. And then in order to take, so
yeah.
here's the night, but then I may have just described maybe
Yeah,
the,
I think, yeah, yeah, it's the
oh,
intensity levels that gives it the depth. But the wounded kids, like with Caroline, there are three different parts, one with the anal, the the oral, and the vaginal. But one didn't come from the other, they just split. So they're the three on the bottom.
there you go. And so I may have just combined. So what we could do, let me see if this works. So this is very interesting. So that we could almost draw. So you guys obviously toy around with this. I mean, the parts are they're gonna be the ones to have that to know. So copy. So it just depends, I guess, in figuring out what makes sense, right? Because we then could say that they're a group.
Yeah, yeah, because they are all encapsulated from each other when they're down there
There you go. Because
repressed.
really, this is exactly what's going on from level to level.
Yes.
So how best to describe that?
Well, and that describes, say, okay, the level that has the arrows connected to it would be the wounded kids. For me, the level below that is the satanic influence
Okay. So it'll be very interesting now
because that
intuitively.
screws with your spirit.
There you go. There you go. So, just play with the blank. This will be, I could either send this to you or you want to just take it from
No,
there,
I'll remember it. Yeah.
right? Because certainly this is very true. When one gets overwhelmed, okay, so this is always the splitting, but this is taking it to the next level. So it'll be interesting intuitively then what you do with this to show.
Yeah, that would be okay, so all the boxes with arrows are the intensity levels.
There you go.
And
There you go.
once you get to that bottom level, say you're at a 10 already, then yeah, that part's gonna split into the five different categories of satanic influence that I thought about.
There you go. Or here's another interesting thought, but so I've got two different ideas. You're going to be able to have a sense. So let me just draw this just for the heck of it. I'm going to put this, you go with, I'm now going to
I was
do,
just thinking of that. Yeah, a whole nother set of steps that
okay,
gets you down there. Yeah.
so we could,
I don't know that well, yeah, because you do have different front personalities too over different age groups.
so maybe then the best way to view that, what do we want to do? Let's go wait. And he's been front. So it depends upon how you want to. Usually that's going to be with just one
Yeah, because the front personality will split into, okay, is this a sexual
because
thing? Is this a satanic thing? Is this a domestic violence thing?
then it's really you're going to have the two down here or the backup. So
Yeah, well,
it's getting overwhelmed. Here's the first split, and then I don't know. Again, sorry, I don't want to mess things up now that I'm.
well, the arrows. for me, indicate intensity level.
Yes.
So there wouldn't be a front personality at that intensity level.
No, so the front personality is up here.
Yeah, you just have to change that color, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, at that
So,
second level, you could split in different directions depending on the scenario. If you've already had a
or this is
bestiality rape,
interesting.
well, okay,
Or how about so this one splits and then there's additional backup ones.
sure, yeah,
So anyway, I don't that's it'll just get your intuitive. And this is where the parts, they'll lead you, of course. So maybe you can do a combination of the arrows and the which groupings come first or who comes first in that.
yeah, yeah, huh,
But that would really give not just you, but also as you're eventually going to present this to help people understand, okay, we're going deeper, 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 and
yeah,
more protected. And
yeah,
so ultimately then to get in touch with, as you just did, the minute by minute abuse,
yeah,
you've got to gain the right, as it were, the cooperation of the one above.
yes, yes. The guardian and the
There you go. There
gatekeeper
you go.
and the guard and the backup guard.
There you go.
Hmm.
I just thought of something. This is sort of interesting. I'm gonna make this messier for you, but why not? Okay, so this would be an interesting thought. And how do I want to do this? Okay, so I'm gonna make this. So over time, I don't know how you want. So we could almost make this. Um, if you change that into like a brick wall or something.
Oh,
But this would sort of be the chronology. So we could call that from, so let's say the front person goes to therapy.
yeah.
Okay. So to go deeper, you have to go through this barrier.
And the
And
barrier would be, I don't have multiple
okay.
personality.
And okay, that
Or
would be
shrinks don't know what they're doing.
but
All
this
the
would
stuff that
also,
society teaches us.
okay, but that would also possibly be where the guards are.
It could be. Yeah.
So it's a very real dynamic of going deeper and then getting through, not getting through. So this is the level of the guards. So the guards are here, then gatekeepers here or something. So
Yeah.
I don't want to freak you out, but it's just,
No. Well, those red vertical lines remind me of your talk that you did with Emma about the barriers
there you
to
go.
therapy. Yeah. So those would be those barriers.
So
But the
that's
parts themselves, I think those barriers are what we get from society tells us, or your family tells us. The
okay.
parts themselves are in those cubes at the
There you go.
different depth levels.
So once you're processing, right, you're going to process at this level. So this is both the hurdle, that's interesting, sort of the hurdles and the gates and the resistance from the other parts.
Well, because the blue horizontal lines are indicating gatekeepers and guards.
There you go.
So get past the hurdle society and get past your own guard and then
Actually,
another societal hurdle and then your gate. Because at each level, society, you're going to want to talk to someone about it in societies, or maybe it's biblical teaching or whatever. But our society is set up to keep us from remembering. The television shows and the music and the art shows, and it triggers. So I think the vertical lines would be the societal influence, and the horizontal lines would be the guards and gatekeeper, the intensity levels. Just my own thoughts on the matter,
Okay, so
if that makes sense.
100%. I mean, and you're going to be the one. I was going to put a little person because what I was thinking also, okay, just as you said, those are the societal things, but I was picturing like, a guard here
Pastor.
and a gate here, and here's the guardians here. Almost like to get through a castle, you got to get past this guard, get through this gate
Uh-huh.
as you're going down further. So I
Yeah.
don't, okay, well, I'll get out of this, but that'll be
Okay, we're
interesting.
at noon. Do you have someone waiting?
Let's go for a few more minutes. I don't have anybody after this, but because we got to get
Okay.
to the Gerald Ford thing.
I know, I was thinking of that
So
too.
it'll be very interesting, Diana, now that, and hopefully that was helpful because now you guys in the parts, it'll be very interesting because you're the resident experts now. So to see this on that schematic diagram going down
Yeah.
further
Yeah.
and then chronologically in any one of those incidents, it'll be very interesting to see how that kind of uh, formats itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope I didn't overwhelm you by doing that.
No, you've just given me another project.
Hey, everybody can thank me later, right?
Okay, so this was just going through all those uh parts. Flynn, Ford, Fallon, Fritz, I gotta remember who they are. Okay, yeah, Flynn. Okay, so the performers, I already went through that with you, their voice and their feet, exertion, concentration, spiritual issues. And what I thought was two separate incidents turned out, and then we destroyed their prisons and they got baptized. Okay, so I'm going to bed. Spent the whole day working on that. And then right before bed, I did that. So I'm laying down, and all of a sudden, the White House just I could hear a part saying White House, Gerald Ford. And it said, "Do you remember that school campaigning we did in the classrooms?" And I go, "Yeah, I don't know what that was about." And so then I had adrenaline surging. And so I started looking him up on on the internet and Wikipedia. And he was talking about his younger years, how he was in Omaha, Nebraska, and Grand Rapids, Iowa. And that's where I was in my teenage years in this area. And when I look him up on the internet, I saw his picture. I got shudders in my stomach, and I feel very tense right now. He was in the same general location that I was. And so other internet articles show him with the Queen in 76. Now that would have been the last year I was with having visitation with my dad at the White House dancing with Gerald Ford. And then I looked up the Betty Ford Center 76. So she was addicted to drugs and alcohol while he was the president. And I've got some pictures. Okay, Ford and Queen, Ford and Queen. They're having a grand old time.
Oh gosh.
I mean, look at how these aren't two strangers dancing. Do you know what I'm saying? They're seem to be enjoying each other. So I got the vibe that they knew each other. And here's another one. Same thing. I guess somebody could have said a joke or she did or whatever, but he doesn't seem I don't know, their body language just seems interesting to me that they're not strangers. And then here's another one. And this one I thought was really intriguing, how they're looking each other in the eye. Yeah, we know each other. That we have an understanding is
Yeah.
what that says to me. And there were other images, but those in particular I thought were interesting. And
Which
Oh,
is, what you just described, because when I think of Gerald Ford, I think of kind of milk toast.
and that's how they talk about him.
But in
That
that
he's
that look,
affable. He's affable, and I forget how Wikipedia describes him, but I just captured this for the date so that I would know the date of their, whatever. Um,
but that look was like hyper masculine
yeah, yeah, I don't know if you want to look at it again.
as he was staring at her. There's nothing milk toast about that look.
No, no, nothing meek or mild about that. No, I agree with you totally. And so I looked at those and I was like, oh wow, okay. And I wound up going to the Betty Ford. So she was actually addicted to drugs and alcohol while in the White House. As I'm looking at all this, I'm having a lot of anxiety. As I'm looking at his cabinet, I'm having tension in my inner thighs, my butt tensing up, and anxiety in my stomach. When I look at his picture, same thing. My butt was just going like this, and my stomach is upset now. And my part is called Diana Lynn. That's my middle name. And they didn't like, because if you say Diana Avers, it's not very smooth. But you can say Diana Lynn and it's smooth, like Diana Ross. And my part was telling me that, yeah, I think they chose that to be my quote unquote name for politics because it's easier to say. And it would take the Avers out of the equation in case someone knew what that meant, which I still don't really understand what that means. Said she was being groomed for politics. That's why they had her do campaign stuff in grade school. It was the beginning. And
Uh,
it reminds me again of that Bryce Taylor
yeah.
person. She was in that political moving around. And then my butt just clenched again. I had shudders through my whole body now. And I thought, who campaigns in sixth grade? What adult's going to listen to a sixth grader? What sixth grader's going to listen to a sixth grader? They don't even care about politics. But I'm doing this, right? So the point is to convince your classmates to go home and bug their parents, right? I can't figure out why else you would do that. It's
And
just
why
my
would a
part.
school, I don't know, why would a school, I don't know back then, but why would they permit?
Or it could have even been fifth grade because that would be a whole year before the election, right?
Yeah, yep, yep.
So it was like a grooming process. My part says that he is just anally raping me very bad. And I had a little bit of time go by here. And and now I suddenly have an upset stomach. She says, I'm on my hands and knees on a bed. Because I had been thinking about doing a TED talk on a bed for a couple days. And I was imagining it in my mind. And this part's like, yeah. So he is behind me, grabbing my hair from behind and jerking my neck back, almost making a vice out of me. So imagine he's thrusting his body and pulling my head back. I was like, it says, I feel like I'm in a vice between my neck and my butt. It hurts a lot, and someone is there taking pictures. Plus, right now, I've been in bed for half an hour with a very thick blanket, and I cannot seem to get warm. And for me, John, I get warm within 5 minutes. I'm usually throwing the covers off because I'm too warm. I just saw a man looking to his left, chopping something with his right hand. He had short brown hair, glasses, and white man standing in front of a table. I really don't know what that's about. Put some space there. And then another image. Yeah, that was time and drifting, time and drifting. First, I saw a room with plants and pots on the floor that looked like mini palm trees. The next thing I saw was a standalone tub, metal or gray, round and simple, but about 3 or 4 feet high. So it's not anything attached to the wall. It's just standalone. I got the impression that I was placed in there in cold water so that my nipples would be hard, or somehow or I would somehow be tense. I can see myself in this cold water tub shivering. Now that I just remembered that, I'm starting to get very warm. And it dawns on me right now as we're talking, if you take someone out of an ice bath, the first thing they're going to do is overheat, right? Well, not the first thing, but once your body starts to, I don't know. I don't know why I got really warm. Plus, since I started recording this, I've been having hunger pains. So time and space again. There's ice in the tub with me. I'm shivering with my hands between my legs. I can hear Gerald Ford saying, "You know how I like them, you know how to prepare them." The cold water was to make my body tense so that my vagina and anus would be very tight. And in the back of my mind, probably even right now, they're saying, because he had a small dick. I don't know. That's what they're saying. He had a small dick. Right. So he would need, even though I'm 6 years in the sixth grade, 9 or 10 years old, he's still, whatever. And then time and space again. I just saw a large cookie of tins with very large cookies, and I took a bite and then dropped the cookie on the floor, and the cookie flew about 8 feet away, so that someone slapped it out of my hand. And oh, this was interesting. Now I just saw about 3 or 4 heads on a table as I was looking at the one on the far, looking at them. One on the far left turned and somewhat glared at me, and it wasn't really a glare, it was just an intense look. Turned and gave a somewhat intense look at me. It was a woman with a head covering with rhinestones or diamonds around the edges. It was silver, very fancy, but I could see the heads, nothing else. Not their body, just their head. There was no blood, guts, or gore or anything. And there was, diamonds around the edges of this thing. And so I'm like,
Are you saying that, I'm sorry, so human heads were placed on a table?
yeah, like in that, spirit cooking thing I showed you before where they're eating brains, except they weren't eating them. It was just like some sort of rite of passage that these people had to be heads on a table. That's what they call heads on a table. And here's
When you say that there's chopping going on, what do you think the chopping is then?
oh, I didn't even put that together, John. Oh, maybe that's what he was doing. But here's the sketches I drew. Um, the first sketch, yeah, that's the same one. I believe was this one. I was trying because she had her head sideways, and then she turned and looked at me, and this line should not be there, but there's diamonds encrusted around here. It was this silver shiny cloth, just a head on a table. And it was one of like I remember seeing three, and this guy had a top hat on, and he had some sort of strange either hair or hat. And after I was done drawing, I thought, I wonder if that's one of those Jewish beanie things that they wear. I don't know, but the only thing that came was it's called Heads on a Table. It was like some kind of rite of passage. And maybe how Masons do that humiliation rituals and things like that. And I thought, well, let me try and draw this thing. And this is wrong too. It's much more narrow.
Did those heads, did the people seem to be looking? Did they
Oh
seem,
yeah, they're totally alive. They were enjoying themselves, just looking around.
but it,
They were like important people playing a game. And maybe on another table across the room, people's brains were being eaten. I don't know. But
so
this was,
they're real people, their heads are sticking out of a
yeah, and
table?
they're talking and chatting with each other. And isn't this just kind of vibe? And she just turns her head and looks at me, and she's completely pleasant. She's looking at me really intensely. And I was
And
like, yikes.
was that Susan Ford or she's taking the pictures?
Susan Ford, because after that image, I remembered that's right. Didn't I read he has a daughter? And there was,
So
and so I looked that up and
I'm
checked it out.
fixated on something just for a second here.
Here, I
Uh,
was trying to find the head wrap. That's not it. It was close.
okay, so you've got then, from what I'm understanding, what you're saying, you've
This
got
is pretty close,
okay, so
but I
you've got
found it.
you kind of have these talking heads, so people
Yeah,
are then their
yeah,
bodies are under the table.
they have to be. Yeah, probably
Okay,
sitting on chairs. Because John, she just swiveled to me. And
okay,
the other
so
guys are they're swiveling to each other. These heads on a table talking to each other.
okay,
I
so let
was
me
like, this is bizarre. It was
okay,
surreal.
so let me ask you this.
But
I'm just think,
imagine this wrapped around her throat too, with
okay,
diamonds encrusted.
so I'm trying to think as an evil, right? Nothing surprises us, but it always surprises us. So if they have those people on a swivel down below their heads, do you think the chopping was that their heads get chopped off?
Maybe, but Susan Ford's obviously didn't.
No. So hers was one of the swiveling heads.
Yes, that was the one
Oh,
with the
I'm sorry.
diamond encrusted thing.
Okay, so then it's either maybe they're mocking then, as you say, the other
Yeah,
heads.
some sort of because the ones I was looking at in the memory were having a grand old time.
Okay,
They
so
knew they were not in jeopardy.
okay, so they're mocking then the decapitation of the other ones.
I didn't even think of that, but yeah, you're probably right. And yeah, I was looking at them. Yeah, okay. So I realized who am I looking at? And the name Susan Ford, because I had just read about Gerald Ford, and I went, well, let me go take a look at some pictures of her. And sure enough,
So you heard the names.
that's the
Well,
face. This face was on the head on the table. Her. I was looking for the exact angle that she was looking at me, and this is the exact angle. But imagine her with that head wrap I just showed you on,
had you
right?
ever had you ever seen a picture of her as you looked it up?
No, never knew heard of her before. This is Betty Ford dancing on the White House cabinet room table, her last day of the White House. And she's addicted to drugs and alcohol. This is Betty Ford. Think of the audacity it would take to do
I
that.
didn't even see it. So she's on the table.
Yes, this is the mother. Betty Ford dancing on the White House cabinet, the last day in the White House. Think of the hubris and the audacity. I would never do that, would you?
Why didn't that make the news?
And they took a photo of it and printed it with
Yeah.
captions. The White House Historical Association. Donate. It's in the library. Yeah, it didn't make the newspapers, I'm sure. And here's where is she? Oh, and here she is as an older woman, but it's the exact angle she was looking at me. And she looked at me just like that. And when I drew my sketch, I drew her with green eyes, and John, she's got hazel or blue-green eyes.
Yeah.
That's why I kept this picture, because that one's in black and white. And I knew it instantly. It's her. And that's when I wrote here. It's Susan Ford is his daughter. I just looked at pictures of that time frame. Her Wikipedia says that she's a photojournalist.
I was going to say, who else would take a picture like that? It's got to be her taking a picture of her mother.
Yeah, and they show you with her with a camera. And remember when I'm in the room with Gerald Ford, there's someone there with a camera. I'm pretty sure it was her. I'm thinking that she's the one with the camera taking pictures of her father raping me. I sketched it with green eyes. I looked it up and they are green, a green blue. It was a fancy dude. There's a man bent over a table snorting cocaine and wiping his nose. Now, I don't know where we are. I'm not going to say it was the White House or anything like that, but we're somewhere with Gerald Ford and his daughter, and I'm being raped, and so I was just like, holy cow. And the part's name is Diana Lynn, and I'm supposed to learn campaigning stuff. And years later, after I met Chris and Ron Paul was running, I think in '04, '08, I volunteered to do some stuff. They mailed me a box of letters, envelopes, and stamps, and I stuffed envelopes and mailed them. Asked me if I wanted to be a delegate, and I was like, no. So I had this desire to want to be a part of an election. And then I started listening to Alan around the same time period, and I realized, oh, it's all bullshit anyway. So that part just got kind of put to the side. But I always remember doing that election stuff in sixth grade. I could never understand why or how I even got to that part. I remember vividly walking into a classroom in front of the whole class, being anxious and nervous because, oh shit, I'm talking in front of people. And I had another girl with me. She started her spiel, and then I did mine, and I started to relax. And I thought, well, that's about the same time period I was being trained to do stage shows and speak in front of audiences. So it would make sense. And it's the same time period. Let me check how old these guys are before I speak out. They're 8 years old. So I was 6, speaking in front of my classroom, and 2 years later, they have me speak in front of, no, 6 or 7. I had to, I, this is what am I sharing or no?
No, not yet.
I was going through this, and just the list of the parts, age, impact, and their names, and everything else comes off of here. And I was trying to figure out, well, how can you be that age if it's this year? And I thought, well, let me go back to what I know for sure. And I know for sure that, okay, there's a tub test. And I know for sure the Nixon thing was a specific year. Okay, Nixon was the Queen's in Canada in '73. So I thought I have to be 8 years old. Nixon resigns in '74, same thing. This just stands for spring, summer, winter, fall. I was trying to figure out what happened at age 9 and 10. And I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, so this whole year we have visitation with dad, and we moved to Iowa. And I made a note to myself to look up the public records of when my mom filed for divorce and when her divorce was granted, and whatever court records I can find. And then I can isolate what's going on in here. So I knew this for sure, and I knew, this for sure and this for sure, which altered. And I thought, okay, then I got to work backwards. And I started figuring out, and so it changed the ages of quite a few of these. They were actually a year younger than I thought. So, yeah, and so that led me, I don't know, just going through this and trying to figure out the exact years. Because I thought I know for sure I was 6 years old when we started going to Three Lakes because mom was raped here, and I was just turning 6 a week after this. So I knew for sure that I was 6 here. And I knew for sure I was 8 there. And so I had to figure out the in between. And as I started doing that, it opened up all the Gerald Ford stuff, I believe. And so I started thinking, well, I remember in sixth grade, that's stupid election thing. Why was I doing that? Who cares about Gerald Ford? And so I thought, well, oh, wasn't he the one after Nixon? And I've got two open years there. Nixon's off the scene now. That would put Ford in place. Oh, and do you know the history of Ford's presidency?
And then then about Squeaky Fromm. What do you think?
I don't know who that is.
Okay, there was an attempted assassination on Ford in Sacramento.
Hmm.
Okay, and so Squeaky Fromm appeared to be this mentally ill individual. So I'm thinking it was certainly MK Ultra. They were either
Yeah,
trying to
I'll
take
have to look
out.
into that.
Yeah, you can look up
But
Squeaky
here's
Fromm.
the thing, Gerald Ford's presidency is historic because he's the first president ever put in office that was not elected vice president or president. I didn't know the VP resigned first. Then
Oh,
Nixon
who was the
resigned.
VP? Was it Agnew?
I believe so. But then they chose Gerald Ford because of his affable nature. He was a good guy. Everybody liked him, right? And he was the one Republican that the Democrats could stomach. And so they put him in office. And, I didn't find the head covering. Do you remember when I read my journal to you and the name Turk came up? Well, that popped into my head while I'm thinking about all this. And I thought, I wonder if that was a Turkish head wrap. So I type in Turkish head wraps and I found it. I found the exact style. So I thought, well, let me look into the whole Turkish politics at that time. I couldn't find any visits to the White House, but Gerald Ford went there a couple of times. And they had repealed their laws to produce poppy and heroin. They were the biggest heroin provider for the world. And their own government squashed it and suppressed it from pressure from the United States. When Gerald Ford got in office, they lifted it a little bit so that the drugs could start flowing again. That's number one. And then the other thing with his presidency was he pulled us out of Vietnam in that catastrophic way. So I'm thinking, okay, you're loosening up drug things, you're pulling out of Vietnam in the same way that Biden pulled out of Afghanistan. I think he's definitely one of the boys. He and the Queen are chummy together. So I'm like, well, of course he's going to have the same behaviors as Nixon or any of the others. I mean, I didn't really go very deep. I was trying to figure out what was the result of this Turkish drug thing. Did they lift it? Did they keep it squashed? And I couldn't find anything on it. But Turkey, Afghanistan, and another country were the main providers of drugs worldwide at that time. And I'm looking at his daughter with her head on a table in a Turkish head wrap. I couldn't, when I put in fashion head wraps, I kept coming up with burqa or whatever those things are, and the fancy scarves. But when I put in Turkish head wrap, I found the exact one.
Did you
So
who
I
was
think it was maybe the Turkish ambassador or something was maybe that's what that dinner was about. And
or maybe what who was the did they use term president of Turkey? What term
I
did
don't
they
know,
use?
president or prime minister, one of the two. I think I typed in prime minister.
Did you look up his face and see if there's any
Oh, geez, no, I didn't.
you want to Google
Well, maybe I should.
why don't you Google it now, see if
But that would mean, but he didn't come here. Ford went there.
well, first look at a picture.
That meeting, that means I'm a world traveler at that age. And that would be a whole day flight. Well, no, I guess a 7 or 8 hour flight. So what am I doing? Looking up the
Who
Turk
leader of Turkey,
presidents,
Prime Minister, I don't know.
19.
My apologies, right? I don't know.
Oh, presidents.
Okay. During what year?
75. I get a little bit of a squirm on my shoulders. What is his name here? Erdogan. Erdogan.
Oh, yeah.
But oh wait, Turkey. And Gerald Ford. Oh, there you go. Isn't it Anwar Sadat?
Oh, yeah.
And maybe we'll put with. See, you don't see much.
No.
Oh, here's the other thing that Gerald Ford did. They selected him because he pardoned Nixon. He pardoned Nixon. And I believe that was part of the agreement. In one of the articles I read, it was says that they were blackmailing him into becoming the president so that he could pardon Nixon so that he wouldn't be blackmailed. It was some weird, twisted, contorted thing. And I was like, what? So I need to look into that. But I believe that's why they selected him because he agreed to pardon Nixon because Nixon should have gone to jail along with his vice president. And guess who his VP is? A Rockefeller. Guess who his I
Ah,
believe Kissinger's on his cabinet.
I believe you're right.
Gerald Ford, oops.
You are exactly correct.
Gerald Ford cabinets was, I believe, more, he kept the same cabinet that Ford had or that Nixon had. Kissinger, Schlesinger, Rumsfeld,
Oh, gosh.
um,
Bush?
Morton Richardson, Weinberger, all the same men that raped me with Nixon. So I'm just like, why would you choose this? You're trying to choose somebody different, but he keeps the same cabinet. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I just thought that was interesting. Nice. Yeah, if you look up his bio of other things, oh, he's just a warm, affable, nice guy. That's why they picked him. He's a Republican, but the Democrats could stomach him. Well, of course, because he probably swung both ways. I hate to be cynical, but had the same cabinet. I don't think he changed any of them. Why would you do that? So he's one of the boys. I mean, they all are, but so I'm thinking maybe between that year and a half between them separating and then getting the actual divorce and mom because they got divorced, but mom had to wait a few more months before the judge would let her leave state. And so it could have been a 2-year period of time. But I started seventh grade. We were there before school started at her parents' house. And then we moved to our own farmhouse and started school. And I remember we had to walk down the dirt road and the bus picked us up. So I know that for sure. We were there in the summer of 76. 'Cause I remember in sixth grade, it was 1976, and they had all the bicentennial stuff going on. And then there was the election stuff happening too. So I know that for sure for time frames. So it's a lot of research.
That'll be interesting. There is something about looking at those pictures of Ford and the Queen.
They're just too comfortable together.
And
They
I haven't
know
really
each
seen
other.
that. I haven't seen, now, not that I up on, other than like Barack Obama and the Queen,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
he came out of Chicago, so very interesting. Um,
Oh, right. Yeah. Let me see that picture
Uh,
again.
he was, so other than that, I haven't seen, although maybe, right, maybe Bush probably has the same look. I don't know. So it'd be interesting, but based upon that look, that was not milk toast. That was not a milk toast look. That's
No, it's they know each other
there's familiarity there.
for sure. For sure. But this is all you can find. And oh, the dance with
You wonder if they have an
Theo.
affair
Oh, what, huh?
because that almost looks like Paramore.
Oh,
Look at
maybe.
her age. And you wonder if Ford's back, is he connected to the actual Ford and therefore Ford Foundation or something? I don't know.
Oh, well, that's entirely possible. But yeah, they are very chummy
Like
together.
that. See, that's not a normal look.
No, and she's got that same glare back. They have this, they know something together.
It's almost like she's in love with him.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
I don't, who knows? And that's why maybe Betty was drinking herself silly because he's
Yeah, 'cause
he's having this,
and his daughter is taking photo. Her daughter's
yeah,
participating in his twisted crap.
yeah.
I'm like,
Maybe they're putting recordings under Betty's bed.
and drugging her. I mean, they said that she had some sort of accident or injury, and it was she got addicted to opioids from her medicine from years earlier. And I'm like, so she's got a doctor feeding her, her drug and drinking herself shitless, dancing on the on the cabinet's White House table. Who dances on a table like that?
We thought it was bad when Barack put his feet up on the
Just the hubris of it, the arrogance, the just
who's ever heard of it?
look
Uh,
at me with her arms up like, this pose. And, yeah, was that in the newspaper? I doubt it. But it's sure in their archives. They like that
never seen
picture.
it.
It just
Diana,
never ends, does it?
phenomenal work.
Thank you.
I wish you didn't have to go through all this, but
No, thanks. I actually don't mind. I mean, sometimes, yeah, I do. It
I mean,
hurts or you're
that's
sad or whatever, but I'm completely preoccupied with it. I don't even think about anything else. I don't think I've had the TV on for 20 minutes,
yeah.
like over a 4-day period of time.
Well, I'll be interested in what comes up for you then, kind of the stair step fashion downward, and that'll be
Yeah.
very interesting to see because you guys are now the resident experts, so that's going to be an interesting thing.
Yeah, the splits are because you could have a part and it's split into two, and then this one has its own stair step, and that one's got its own stair
Correct. There we
step.
go. There we go.
And like with the performers, they're intermingling and jumping back and forth. It's like, oh my God, how do I show this? I was
Okay,
like,
well, keep me apprised. I mean, of course you will, but it's
for
going to be
sure,
very,
yeah, I'll play around with what you did because that PowerPoint I made with the different parts and the different consciousness levels, it just doesn't do it justice. You're putting them right back in a cage. And I did it for the reason of being able to say, okay, well, who's the promiscuous one? Who's the rebellious one so that I could address them? But I've never used it. It's like all I have to do is go out and work on TED and they all jump in and do their thing. So I don't even know if that's a necessary tool to use. It was in the beginning. Oh, look at that. I've got more parts here than there. But now I'm really 100 in one box and it's just kind of overwhelming. I would say if you had less than 100 parts, that would be useful. But for me, it's just more, it's like kind of, it's useless. But it had a purpose in the beginning.
there you go. And that's invaluable for people to know that listening.
Yeah, just like that PowerPoint with the map and the lily and all that. Yeah, it was helpful, but now I'm like, I don't really use it for anything. It's just taking up time.
So that the message with that, at least one of them is, don't hold too tightly to your understanding at this point.
Right. It helps you get
And
started.
it frames things.
Yeah, frames them. That's a good way to put it. So, yes, 12:30. Thanks for going over again.
Oh, you bet. You bet. Well, listen, you're doing an excellent job. Let me pray, and then I'm going to be very interested in what comes out. Some parts are going,
Yeah,
dang it,
you
John.
and me both. Yeah,
Oh gosh. Okay.
you and me both.
Now let me pray. Lord, thank you. Thank you that Diane and I can continue to work together. Lord, thank you for being in the midst of our sessions. For ultimately, we don't need man's wisdom, we need yours. So continue to guide Diana. Thank you for her diligence. Continue to honor her effort and help now this new idea as far as the clarifying of what how things are structured on the inside. Help the parts be able to discuss and clarify, and also give them wisdom and insight to really help lay out what I don't think has been ever identified before. So, Lord, they're doing this for themselves and they're doing this for others who will be set free. So continue to be very present as she is working on this connect neurons so that they really can lay out how the damage happened and therefore how the healing can happen. So thank you for all the parts, their willingness to risk making themselves be known to Diana, and thank you for her dedication to them and helping them get reestablished and helping them get settled in the present. Lord, thank you for your commitment to us, and we'll just trust that as we continue to meet, you'll always be very present in our sessions. So thank you for that. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father. All right.
Well,
Well, I wish you a good day,
well, thank you.
a good week.
Well, thank you, and then we'll be up and running Friday.
Definitely. See you
Okay,
then.
and keep those emails
Cards and letters
coming.
going. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Lord of Lords, King of Kings. Alleluia. Glory, glory, great majesty. Alleluia.